Hey guys, Brandon from Ross RC here. Got a comp coming up next weekend, or this weekend I guess, and so I figured I'd come on here, introduce myself, and kind of start going over some of my trucks. So for the comps that we host here, we have 3 different classes, class 1, 2, and 3, kind of similar to how 10th Scale's been running theirs in Sorca comps. So like class 1, we have a little more body coverage. Class 2, kind of start getting into your more trail modified trucks. Class 3, you get like 4-wheel steer allowed and more body modifications. And so each class you kind of go up in capability a little bit and get a little further away from that street legal mall crawler type look that you'd see in this Bronco. And then I have this little Jeep that's kind of my hard body or my hardline killer, because these 3 comp trucks are hard bodies. This Lexan with the 3D printed bed, but this truck's extremely capable, but it's not as scale, or I don't get as many scale points from it because of the hard body. So when you have a hard body, you get extra scale points, kind of as a handicap for having more scale, I suppose. So yeah, kind of go over each truck. I'll start with my class 1 truck, my Bronco. It's they're all Axial SCX 24 based, and my Bronco here, it's pretty much stock chassis, stock electronics, other than a buzzsaw, a Mofo RC buzzsaw motor with RC all-wheel drive transmission. It has a JEC brass link riser on the rear axle. You can see that right here maybe. That helps prevent squatting when you're climbing up steep terrain. So when you're going, the suspension's not sucking down as much, keeping the pressure on the front end, so you get that front end bite and climb. I have Endura wheels with JEC beadlock rings and Pitbull rocker tires with the stock foams that are cut so they're a little bit softer. RC all-wheel drive oil-filled shocks. I 3D printed my own bumper that fit the stock D-rings in there, so I still have those. I cut the top off and put a deadbolt cage on. Kind of took a lot of weight off by taking the windows out, so that helped performance quite a bit. I have a brass diff cover on the front, and then brass wheel weights as well, or axle weights in the front, and then brass high clearance links from RC Addiction. And I think that's about it for that one. It's a pretty fun little truck. Not the most capable, but it's kind of your street legal trail truck that you would drive to the trailhead. And for class 2, I'm still kind of building up this truck, but it's a Gladiator that I took and put a Flubber Stuffers FJ45 body on. And I just put high clearance links on that my buddy Tyler made, Tyler Friedenberg. He just started a company making these links. I think it's T Frady RC. You can find him on Instagram or Facebook. I'll put a link in the description below. But I also have SSD wheels. I have J Concept tires on here right now, but they do not grip well. I have these RC 4-wheel drive Baja Pro X tires I just mounted up last night. I'm going to do kind of a little back-to-back test between these J Concept tires and these RC 4-wheel drive Baja Pro X's. They're the same wheel, same brass ring on the inside, so I'm only going to change the tire, and so nothing else will change on the truck, so it should be a pretty good straightforward test. But other than that, I have RC all-wheel drive plus 4mm extended CVD axle shafts on here. And these are cool because they just came out with them, and they have extended threads on the end, so you don't have to worry about your wheel nuts falling off anymore, because you know, you put aftermarket wheels on and you can't tighten that wheel nut all the way. And so they put extra threads on here, giving you plenty of thread now. Huge improvement, and huge thanks to them for listening and doing that. But I also have a brass diff cover, brass steering knuckles, and brass axle weights in the front on this to help offset some of that hard body weight. I currently still have a stock motor in it, but I'm going to be replacing that here shortly. And then stock V2 electronics with an Emax servo. I run Emax servos on all of my trucks. They're cheap. They work good until you get over like the 500 gram weight of these trucks, it seems like. And I try to stay under that anyways. I don't like a really heavy truck. This is my lightest truck here, and it arguably performs the best. So yeah, I think that's about it for the FJ. It's a really fun truck to drive. I like it. Oh, I also put thicker springs in the back on the stock shocks, so it's a little bit stiffer. I'm still figuring out the ride height. That sits a little high in the rear for my liking, so I might cut the springs a little shorter still, but we'll see. On my Class 3, this is a 3D printed chassis I designed, and then I 3D printed the body, and I cut the front or pinched it myself, and then I designed this little comp drop bed thing that I put a little toolbox, a battery, and a traction board in there, and then you have 4-wheel steer, Emax servos front and rear, hot racing double barrel shocks. And I have springs in the back, no springs in the front to help with the ride so that it just kind of stays planted in the front. And then I have FuryTech Lizard Pro ESC FlySky GT5 receiver and the FuryTech Micro Komodo brushless motor. I might switch it back to the bigger Komodo so that I can run it forward facing. With the FuryTech mount, it pushes it off center just a little bit, and it interferes with the 4-link in the front, so I can't run it forward facing without raising it up, which raises the center of gravity. For comp rig, I don't want that. And I also have a retractable badge winch installed on here, and so it doesn't pull the truck up at all by itself, but if you hook it up and then start driving, it puts just enough tension to where typically it's enough to pull you up whatever obstacle you're trying to get up. I have aluminum high clearance links from RC Addiction on this truck. Brass steering knuckles, +4 axle width, scrambler tires with RC or with flubber stuffers inserts in them. These tires are some of the grippiest tires I've tried. And with the flubber stuffers tire inserts, they are just 10 times better. They sit really nice, so it's a flat contact patch when you're crawling, but then when you're side hilling, the side hill support with the 3D printed inserts is just phenomenal. The stock foams on the scramblers are garbage, and I actually took scramblers off and just did not like them because of the stock foams. So then I got the flubber stuffers and thought I'd try them again. And now they're one of my favorite tires by a mile. Yeah, it's a custom design chassis myself, so I fit the battery up front, all the weights up front pretty much, super low, and the truck does really well. I'm really happy with how it performs, sits on its wheels nicely on the side, and yeah, I think that's my favorite truck to drive just because of the creativity you get with the 4-wheel steer. But then I think these two are my next two favorite. This is just, I love the FJ45 look, and the truck's just a great trail truck to drive. Then this hardline truck, it's lightweight, it just sticks to the rocks like glue, and limited flex, but it floats over everything really nicely. It holds its line, and yeah, I'm constantly blown away at what it can do. I still have a few things I want to upgrade on, and I want to put some brass high clearance links that my buddy Tyler made for me, and then also I want to put a bigger motor and maybe a FuryTech brushless system in it. And then I also might put a link riser on to just help with the super steep climbs. But yeah, this truck, it's my custom chassis design on it. Right now I just have a Hot Racing 050 66 turn high torque motor in it. Stock length, stock axle width, but Boom Racing wheels with Proline Hyrax tires and Flubber Stuffers inserts in these as well. These Boom Racing wheels are really nice because you can put the hub on either side and run them as deep dish or standard dish, but then you can also get 3 different hub sizes from Boom Racing, so you can really adjust your wheel offset. And then aluminum steering link and brass knuckles and axle weights on this, with the battery up front for that extra forward weight bias. Stock shocks. I think having a shorter shock is actually better for rock crawling performance. A longer shock is really nice for flex and articulation, but very rarely does that actually transpose into better performance in a competition setting. So this is actually my only truck that I have double barrel shocks on, or longer travel shocks, and it took me a lot of tuning and adjusting to get it to perform somewhat how I wanted it to. And I still think it could perform better with a shorter shock, but every once in a while I do like how it does flex really well. Now I'm not going to be able to flat wheel it like some people can, but I'm not really after those tabletop flex monster trucks. But yeah, I think that's it for all of my comp rigs and hardline trucks. So now let's switch out these wheels and see if these Baja Pro X tires grip any better than these J-Concept tires, which J-Concept makes really good 10th scale crawling tires, like the Landmines, the Hunks, the Tusks. These are the Landmine 1.0s, but they're the I forget what compound they are, but they went with a stiffer, I think it's the gold compound for their first batch, and that was a mistake. They should have went with their green compound, which is way softer. Rumor has it they're supposed to be coming out with more, or with a new batch with the green compound soon, but I've been hearing that for over 6 months from them, so I'm not holding my breath. Yeah, it's kind of a shame, but what can you do? Alright. So these Baja Pro X tires, you do have to kind of be careful. They're directional, so I made sure to mount two tires each direction so that you get the forward tread pattern. I don't know if you can see that very well, but yeah, kind of the center tread, you want the arrow kind of going forward. I'll give a close up here in a minute. Yeah, I like running more weight up front so that it has a forward weight bias, so when you're climbing up steep terrain, it keeps weight on the front end and keeps those tires biting and gripping hard. Oh yeah, those tires look good. What do you think? I think they look better than that size as well. Do you guys like working on these little SCX 24s or 24th scale trucks? I don't really care to work on them myself. I think they're just a little too small, but they're really good for crawling indoors and around your house. So I think they're great scale. I just prefer working on the 10th scale a little bit more myself. And another thing I don't like is, seems like everyone wants to use stainless steel hardware. Please do not use stainless steel hardware. It's like a one-time use bolt, it seems like. I've gotten good wrenches, new wrenches, filed old ones down, and it doesn't seem to do anything. I constantly strip out stainless steel hardware and have to replace it with just a regular standard hardware. But thankfully I got a bolt kit, so I can do that. I got hair wrapped up all in my axle. I'm gonna take my wheel pin out and pull all that off. Having a dog and then myself with long hair, I'm always finding hair in everything. And my wife has long hair too, so that, yeah. Hair everywhere. All right. Wheels feel just snug enough. Maybe tighten that one up just a whisker, but not too tight where it's going to cause extra drag on the motor or anything. That one feels a little loose. Oh yeah, there we go. What do you think? How does that look? I think that looks really good. They're like a 55.9 millimeter tall tire according to their website, or 56 millimeter. And so in class 2 in the comps that I'm hosting, we're doing a 58 millimeter maximum class 2 tire size. In class 1 we have 54 millimeter maximum, and then in class 3 I did put a maximum of I think 65 millimeters just to kind of eliminate those new Capra 18th scale, which are more realistically like 12th scale. I don't want those running on my indoor course, but if you have the new Traxxas TRX 4M, I think those are short enough and small enough that they should fit everywhere on my course. So I'm excited to see one of those and see how they do. And yeah, I might be able to implement those into the micro crawling comps. And I might have to take the 24th scale out of it at that point, but I mean, the Traxxas is supposedly about the same length as this here FJ, but a little bit wider, which so many of us, I mean, this is plus 4 millimeter extended each side already, so it's probably getting really close to that Traxxas TRX 4M size. So I'm curious to see a direct comparison in person. I've seen them online, but you know, it's never the same as seeing it in person, so we'll see. But I think now we're ready to take the FJ outside or out to the track and give it a little test, see if these tires actually made an improvement.